This is The Bracketologists, your home for March Madness coverage, presented by Anchor.
It is officially March. We're here, y'all, and I am so pumped to get things going. How's it going, guys? I'm Brandon Matula.
And I'm Thomas Hicks.
And this is The Bracketologists, your home for March Madness coverage. Woo! Tommy, that weekend was pretty crazy. you couldn't have asked for a better road to the championship, as ESPN calls it. It was absolutely crazy. I could not believe how many upsets there were. How are you feeling?
Yeah, my only problem was that I only have one TV. I need more TVs if the games are going to be this good. I was just bouncing back and forth. Such a thrilling Saturday night with a lot of upsets, but a lot of good wins, at the end of the day, a lot of solid teams playing solid basketball. And man, I'm excited to talk about it and jump right on into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll get right on to it. And before we do, I just wanted to give some of my thoughts. This season is really shaping up to be what would have been in 2020. If we remember, there was really not a best team in 2020. There was just no all-powerful team. We just saw the number one team in the country lose. And Tommy's going to break that down for us because he called it, y'all. He called it.
Fine.
We're just going to go ahead and get things going. Just to give y'all a little transparency on our rundown, we're going to talk about the top 25. Just where teams landed. There was a lot of movement, so we'll definitely get to that. And then we're going to jump right into the games. We're going to go over 6 of them, and we're going to break down the matchups, and we're going to highlight the implications on the projections for the brackets. We're going to be highlighting Joe Lunardi's bracket projections.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the ones that we'll be looking at. CBS has been kind of lacking lately, and they're usually ones that I trust, but Joe Lunardi's been pretty good about getting his stuff out, so we're going to go with him. And then from there, Tommy and I are just going to name our teams of the weekend, team that really just fired on all cylinders, and there was many worthy candidates this weekend. But Tommy and I are each going to pick one, and we're just going to cap it off there, and then we'll see y'all on Thursday. So let's go ahead and get into our show today. We're going to start out with the top 25 rankings just released Monday. A lot of movement here. So just looking at 25 to 11. Murray State falls back 3 spots. I believe looking at their team, they've had a pretty great year.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember when John Morant was over there. Crazy. Looking at their schedule, they didn't lose. They played Southeast Missouri State. Fun fact, my school just played them in baseball. So there's that. But they had a close week against good teams. They blew out Belmont, which is surprising. Belmont really usually comes out of that conference out of the Ohio Valley. But yeah, it's interesting to see them fall back. I think that mostly has to do with a lot of teams winning ahead of them, especially with St. Mary's. St. Mary's flies up 4 spots. I think it should have been more, in my opinion. Tommy, what do you think about St. Mary's spot after beating Gonzaga?
Yeah, I understand why it was only 4. It's kind of tough for the people who are running these polls, the AP, for them to really see the stardom and the shine and how much fight St. Mary's has. So I get it. They're still a little wary, is St. Mary's legit or not? But, as someone who's been watching them, someone who's really confident in them, I do agree that they should be higher. I thought they should have been higher from the start. But yeah, I think it only goes up from here. I'm really excited to see where things go for St. Mary.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited too. I'm excited for them to be a higher seed this year because beating the number one team in the country, that's got to give you maybe a 6 seed or higher. That'd be great to see for St. Mary. So definitely be looking towards that. We saw UCLA fall a few spots. They lost to Oregon. Oregon is in desperation mode. They're trying to get inside the brackets. They're currently one of the first 4 teams out after the loss to USC. And USC is ranked ahead of UCLA, one of the 4 teams that stayed stagnant this week. I think that's interesting. Tommy can get into that later. Arkansas goes 4 spots up after beating Kentucky. I think that's fair. And they're tied with Houston, who stays stagnant as well at 14. Just out of those teams I just named, Tommy, anything that sticks out to you?
Houston staying the same is a little surprising. While it does make sense, I do think that they should have gone up at least one. USC as well. I think they're a legit team. I've always loved USC. I think they play really good basketball, so maybe a little higher for them. I'm proud of Arkansas for going 4 up. Even against my Kentucky Wildcats, like they did play a great game. But that's still a lot. For just one good win for Arkansas. If you're going to give St. Mary's 4 for beating the number 1 team in the country, you got to give Arkansas like a little bit less than that because they didn't. They're not playing the number 1 team in the country. So, I understand where they're coming from. I think it is a little odd, the placements, but at the end of the day, I'm not making them. So all I can do is just, give you guys my thoughts on them. So,
yeah. And yeah, absolutely. Right before we get into the top 10, let's talk about 13 through 10. We left off at Houston. Tennessee going up 4 spots. I think that's fair. I mean, you played Auburn at home, so that's not as impressive to me as winning it at Auburn. But good for Tennessee. I mean, they're getting hot right at the right time. It's March, y'all. So great time to start getting hot for the Vols. Texas Tech falling 3 spots after their TCU matchup. I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, TCU is not an easy team to play on the road. Nobody really is in the month of February, especially towards the end. And then Villanova falls 3 spots. They're at 11. They got a big game against Providence coming up, so that'll be huge. They lost to UConn. Big matchup there. UConn got a huge win. And here we go. Let's get into the top 10. There is movement everywhere except for the top 2 spots, which I'm really surprised about one of those 2 teams, and it might surprise you. But let's go ahead and break it down. Wisconsin is at number 10. They cracked the top 10. They won the Maui tournament this year, and they're just riding in hot right behind Davis, Johnny Davis, sophomore from La Crosse, Wisconsin, averaging 21 points a game. He is just lighting it up as of right now. And you got Providence going up 2 spots. I think that's a good look. I mean, especially after beating Creighton. I think Creighton is slotted to be a tournament team this year, so that's great for Providence. And now we're going to get into the teams that lost this weekend. Let's talk about Purdue. Tommy, do you think Purdue falling 4 spots is fair?
Since this is, gosh, that's tough because Michigan State is an unranked team right now, and they're fighting to make that tournament. They're obviously putting up a good fight. They understand the implications of every single win and loss. To drop 4 spots for Purdue, I don't, not that this makes a difference. I maybe would have done 3, just 1 less, because 4 I think is a little dramatic. Because it's not like Michigan State absolutely wiped the floor with them. It was 68-65. They only lost by 3. So I think 4 is a little dramatic. I don't necessarily agree with. I don't know if I agree with that. With 4.
Yeah, I think falling back that far against a great basketball team like Michigan State. I mean, yeah, they're not ranked, but come on, it's Michigan State. That's technically a blue blood. I wouldn't put them there, but I mean, you're losing to a good team on the road, especially really close like that. One guy that I really enjoyed watching on Purdue was Eddie. I think his Zach Eddie, 7'4", 295 pounds from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Ooh.
Reminded me of Yao Ming, like a similar appearance, and 7'4", man. Like that's astonishingly tall. Yeah. He had a really great game. He had a game where he had 67% shooting and 25 points. Like those are the numbers you want to hit. And if he could keep doing that, he's going to be hard to stop in the month of March. Let's go ahead and go forward. Kentucky falls back 1 spot. I agree with this, Tommy. I know you're a Kentucky guy. I want to get your thoughts, but I think this is a fair assessment. I mean, they lost by 1 shot to Arkansas on the road. I mean, what's your thoughts here? I think this is fair.
Yeah, I think it is fair as well to drop 1 spot. Kentucky should have beaten Arkansas, and for that reason, I do understand 1 spot. I do appreciate how it's not as dramatic as that Purdue drop. But for Arkansas, I think it's more interesting for Arkansas to go up 4. Just off that one win. But yeah, I agree. I think that's fair to go down 1.
Cool. All right, let's get into the top 6. KU loses to Baylor. We're definitely going to break down this game. That was probably the biggest game of the weekend because it shook up the top seeds a little bit in Joe Lunardi's projections. But KU at number 6, I think that's fair to put them at 6. Tommy, what do you think here?
I agree. I think 6 is fair. It's kind of tough too because I do think that this KU team would beat Auburn, but I that's fair. 6 is fair.
That's a perfect segue, Tommy, because that's exactly where I was going. Man, I think Auburn has really, really cooled off ever since their loss to Arkansas. Yes, we know Arkansas is legit now, but their performance since then has just not been good. Yeah. I mean, they lost to Florida on the road, and they didn't play too well against Ole Miss. I mean, they did play them at home, so there's an advantage there. And then they go on the road and lose to number 17 Tennessee. If you're the number 3 team in the country, like, you got to take care of business down the stretch like this, and it's not looking good for Auburn in my eyes. Mm-hmm. Like, if they keep this up, I expect them to win their last 2 games against Mississippi State and South Carolina, but if they don't play as well, man, I don't know if you could put them at a 1 seed. I really don't know. I think Kentucky takes it over them in the SEC because Auburn is currently the highest ranked SEC team, and I just disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree as well. I'm with you on that, Brandon.
Cool. All right, let's talk about the top 4. According to the AP poll, Duke at number 4. I mean, I think not much discussion there. They clamped on Syracuse. Like, that's, man, like, great work there. I highlighted that game because it had potential because we all know Buddy Boeheim kind of went off last year, the son of his coach. Yeah, so good for Duke, but this is the meat of this segment. Top 3. Baylor moves up 7 spots, y'all. 7 spots. The biggest jump in the top 25 this week. Tommy, was it too much to put 7, or is there a reason behind it in your eyes?
So with both Duke and Baylor, I think they're ranked perfectly. Duke may be a little higher than they should be. 4th is a bit high. I think they should for sure be in the top 10, maybe the top 8. Baylor, though, I think is perfectly ranked. Like, this Baylor team is legit, and I did say, like, they have a chance to prove that against Kentucky, and look what happened. Baylor wins. And so this Baylor team, I think we have confirmed what they're made of. Same with the Duke team. And Duke has always been a name, you associate Duke with college basketball. That's just how life goes. To have them that high is cool, and I appreciate it. I do think that this year Duke has something very special going for them. Obviously, Zion going there was a big turnaround for the program and how deep they went with him. And 2020, and they didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even know if they made the tournament in 2021, or either they did or they lost early. I don't think they made.
I don't believe they did. I think they may have been not disqualified, but I think they had COVID issues. I think that's what it was. But even then, they were not very good.
They weren't playing. Yeah, they weren't playing too good. So, Duke, like, they want to get back where they usually are, which is, a top 5 team ready to make some noise in the March Madness tournament. So, Duke, I'm happy that they're, back where they are. Life feels normal again. But I do like when the brackets are shook around a little bit. You shake them up. So I do think Baylor is right. I think it's right at 3rd. I agree with Baylor and I agree with Duke.
Cool. All right, let's talk about these top 2 teams. And we'll play a little, not really a game, but like just a pick 'em. Tommy, both of these teams lost. Gonzaga is at number 1 and Arizona is at number 2. Which, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting that neither of them moved, considering that they lost by double digits. Both teams lost by double digits. Let's just clarify that. Both were on the road, so that kind of softens the blow. But because a lot of people are outraged about this, that Duke nor Baylor are 1 and 2. which move was worse, putting Gonzaga at number 1 or putting Arizona at number 2?
I think Gonzaga can stay. I think the Zags. I think they're heavy. I think they can stay at 1. I do think though, if you're gonna drop Kentucky, you have to drop Arizona with them.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna drop Kentucky for losing to that Arkansas team and moving Arkansas up that high, then you gotta drop Arizona at least to 3. I would assume 4, but at least third. Like Arizona, great team. It's very solid. They had a great February, winning every single one of their games except for their game against Colorado. And they had a good January as well, beating Colorado by double digits in January. So I think what they are is they're just tired. They're ready for the tournament. They're tired of playing these teams that aren't ranked. But the thing is, these teams are hungry, and when you get to the tournament, it's going to be the same situation. You're going to have these teams that are, like, on paper, they're worse than you, but they're hungrier than you. So It does worry me a bit for Arizona. That being said, I think you got to drop them at least a couple spots, 1 or 2. But yeah, agree with the Zags, disagree with the Wildcats.
Yep, I'm going to go the same way. I think losing by 16 on the road, I mean, I get it if it's by 1 shot, but losing by 16 on the road, Colorado just exited the talks of being a tournament team. But now, after beating the number 2 team, you got to consider them. Them and Colorado State are getting looks by current projections. And Arizona, man, come on. Like, you got to move them down too. I know they had a good game against Utah, but come on, that doesn't compare to their loss. Like Utah, the win against Utah doesn't have that much positive weight or that much more positive weight than negative weight than losing by 16 to a team that's like one of the first 4 teams out or somewhere around there, So that's pretty much our thoughts on the top 25. I mean, what a crazy weekend. Let's go ahead and get into the matchups.
Yeah.
That really stuck out to us. We highlighted 11 of them, and we're going to talk about 6 of them because 5 of them, I mean, they just didn't meet our criteria of like interest, if that makes sense. They were either blowouts or just, I mean, the expected thing happened. The higher ranked team won. But let's go ahead and jump into these. These were the games that sent the March Madness world into a frenzy.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start with this. Tommy, this is a game that you watched really closely. St. Mary's hosting the Zags.
Heck yeah.
Tell me about it. What
man.
Like, Tommy, like, you called it, dude. Like we got to give credit where credit is due. Guys, this is why we have a podcast. This is why you listen to us. You called St. Mary's winning at home, and they won big. They won by 10. No. And they were up.
They never lost. They had to lead the entire time.
Yeah, they were up 36-21. So they were up 15 at halftime. And Gonzaga usually comes back in the second half. They only outscored St. Mary's by 5. That is impressive to me. Tell me about it, Tommy.
Yeah, I think, we have a Cinderella story every March Madness. I think it's going to go to St. Mary's this year. You guys know ever since we've started doing this podcast, and even before then, this has been my team that I'm like, you guys, St. Mary's, that's a basketball team. That's a basketball program that is trying to become the likes of Kentucky, Duke, Gonzaga, maybe even, kind of what Baylor's been doing the past couple of years. They're trying to slip their name in there as St. Mary's as a legit basketball program. Well, how do you do that? Well, you beat big teams. They beat the number 1 team, Gonzaga, in great fashion too. And here's the thing, that's what's going to happen with St. Mary's as far as dubs go. If they're leading the entire time, I don't think they're going to lose those leads. That's kind of been the pattern with St. Mary's. Obviously, they're 24-6, which isn't too far off from the 24-3 Bulldogs. But yeah, they were leading the entire time. They have that confidence. They have the fans there. It's a good game. It's a good situation for St. Mary's. You're at home. It's the last game of the regular season. Man, it was just so much fun to watch. Everything basically was adding up. Everything was falling into place for St. Mary's to win. All they had to do was play good basketball, and they did that. The stats were great as well. Like St. Mary's, the stats were close. The 3-point percentages were close. They were only up by a little bit more. St. Mary's did have 2 big threes in the last couple of minutes to really make things, send them home. I believe it was 2 threes, and then they got fouled and made both their free throws twice. That's what put them up by 10. So 6 + 4. But yeah, Gonzaga played a great game. They played great basketball, and they're going to continue to do that. And let's be real, they could probably win the tournament this year. Gonzaga is a legit team, But St. Mary's, you guys, I'm telling you, it's, do not have them losing first, do not have them losing second. They're going to go pretty deep. They have this confidence. Hey, we're the team that beat the number one Gonzaga team.
Yep.
And then you've got players on that team too that deserve all the praise. Notably, I really want to shout out Tommy Hughes. Obviously played a great game, but Logan Johnson, underrated. Senior, only 175 pounds, 6'2", like average build, and he's a senior. He knows he's got to make things happen. But guys, Logan Johnson went off, and I'm proud of his gameplay as well. He was a great leader on the court. Watching him, so this, if there's anything to take away, it's that St. Mary's is legit. I've been trying to say it. Hopefully this proves it. Do they win it all? Maybe not. It could be a Cinderella story, but St. Mary's is a legit basketball program, and I think we just, we have the proof. The proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is tasting sweet. So that's all I gotta say about that.
Tommy, I love your sayings, man. I really do. You couldn't have put it in a better way. Let's go ahead and talk about bracket implications. According to February 25th on Joe Lunardi's bracket, St. Mary's was placed as an 8 seed. And I think that was good placement at the time. But now, man, you gotta put him at a 6 seed in my eyes. We'll see what happens there. He released his top 20 teams in the tournament, and they were not in there. So, I mean, you got to respect Joe Lunardi, but expect them to be on the move. And guys, like Tommy said, St. Mary's is a team to bet on in this tournament, at least to make it to the Sweet 16. And as for Gonzaga, you got to keep them at the 1 seed. I mean, yeah, they had a tough loss, but I expect them to redeem themselves and end up winning their West Coast Conference tournament. So keep an eye out for both of these teams. They're going to make some noise in the month of March. Let's go ahead and get to our next matchup. MSU, Michigan State against Purdue. They hosted the Boilermakers, who were having a pretty good week, and they ended up ruining a strong finish to their week. Very interesting stuff here. I mean, it looked like Michigan State was just ahead of the whole time, and I watched the first half. I really liked how they were trying to contain Zach Edey, their 7'4" center. But, I mean, they just couldn't. But, they just kept on hitting and hitting and hitting. And their highest score was at 13 points. So, that just tells me that this was a collective team win. Their offense, 4 out of the 5 of their guys had double figures. That is just a great thing. But one thing that concerns me about Michigan State is their bench. It just doesn't look convincing to me. They're not deep at all. So that kind of worries me for them down the road. But for Purdue, I mean, this was a tough loss. It was by 1 shot, by 3 points. But be looking, I mean, Boilermakers in my eyes are the Big Ten champions. I think they're going to ride out on top. Currently in the standings, looks like Wisconsin is on top. And let me see if they play each other. And they do. They play Tuesday today. So that'll be a matchup to watch. I know this isn't our preview show, but definitely watch that game. That's going to decide the regular season title in the Big Ten and determine the highest seed in the Big Ten Conference potentially. But Tommy, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I'm still not convinced with Michigan State. I think they're a great basketball program. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that this win solidifies them as someone that we should be absolutely putting all of our marbles in. Now, do we keep an eye on Michigan State after this one? Absolutely. They did great from the 3-point line, but that's really all I can say. It's more, and I know this is kind of a meme with Russell Westbrook, but it's a great analogy if you really think about it. And it's that I don't think Michigan State won this game. I think Purdue lost this game. I know that makes no sense. I know, but if you think it does make sense if you think about it. So that's more so how I feel about Purdue at Michigan State, is that Purdue lost this game. Michigan State didn't win it. So I'm not convinced yet. I would love to be convinced, though. I love a good Cinderella story. I love a good team that just fights their way to the top. So keep an eye on Michigan State. Don't count them out yet. But yeah, I'm still, Purdue's going to bounce back from this for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about potential bracket movements here. Purdue, this is going to move them down a little bit. They were projected in Joe Lunardi's bracket, if I could pull it up. They're currently projected to be an 8 seed. Mm-hmm. And on Joe Lunardi's brackets, as of the 25th of February, they were projected to be Purdue a 2 seed. So it's looking like they're going to be a 3 seed. As of right now, if the season ended today. Oh no, actually, they're still at a 2 seed, so they're still at the top. So my apologies. But they're at the back of the pack there. They're the 8 spot. So 5 through 8 are the 2 seeds. They're at number 8. So they're hanging on by a thread. And if Wisconsin can end up beating them this upcoming matchup today, man, then Wisconsin might take the conference title, and they might take the highest seed. So that's something to watch. Michigan State was a 7 seed on the 25th. Expected to move up. I'll put them at a 6 seed. This is not like Tommy said, this was a matchup where Purdue kind of beat themselves. But, I mean, again, it was just by 1 shot. So the committee is going to be generous there, just giving them 1 seed up. But nothing crazy from the department of the Spartans. But great win there. Great game. Let's go ahead and move to a matchup in my home state, in the great state of Texas. Baylor hosting the Jayhawks. College Game Day was there. And one thing that I found interesting, all of the analysts picked Kansas. And they picked Kansas not just because Baylor ain't it. I mean, they're the defending champs. I mean, they know how to win. And a lot of their players are returning players. But what they looked at was Baylor's injuries. Chachua is presumably out for the season. I would think he is, but we'll have to see what happens. But I mean, Baylor, they found a way to do it, and like that really encourages me if I'm somebody who, not necessarily a Baylor fan, but like somebody who wants to put Baylor far in their bracket. Because if they can beat teams like Kansas by 10 like this, like having a controlled win like this, then man, that's just a good checkup if you're Baylor. Mm-hmm. Tommy, how'd you feel about this game?
Yeah, at one point, Kansas was up 21-9 at the beginning of the first couple of minutes of the game. And I think that's kind of goes to show the kind of team that Baylor is that they don't let their heads reach the floor whenever they're sad and they're open and they're whining. They really don't do that. They don't whine. They don't mope around. Okay, we're down by a lot of points. Let's go out there and do the darn job. And that's kind of what I've seen from Baylor. It's what we saw last season, obviously, with the championship. And this season, too, I think it's a very similar Baylor team. I think they're going to go out there and do the job. And I think that's exactly what they did against Kansas. And I'm proud of Baylor. And I did have them winning just because I do think that Baylor's legit. I don't know how far they go this year, but I know that Baylor's legit. And, they come to play basketball. Like 21-9, if I'm playing on that Baylor team, I'm getting a little upset. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
But, they don't let that kind of thing – they don't let those things – get to their head, and I think that's really the shining factor as to why Baylor played so great. Great team. Both teams are great. Kansas played great as well, but I think this says more about Baylor than it does about Kansas.
Yeah, I'm going to make a very big point here about Baylor. Great win, by the way, Baylor fans. If you're listening, you got a good win, and this is going to put you at a higher seed. But man, like I'm looking at Baylor's roster right now. They got a 7-man rotation right now, and it reminds me a lot of Houston. Like that's pretty much what Houston's doing right now. I think they have a 7 or 8 man rotation, but I mean, that's tough in the month of March, like only 7 guys, like that is tough. And usually in playoffs, like your roster or your depth chart gets smaller as is, but theirs is already small. Like you have guys playing 30, like an average of 28 minutes a game. Like that's going to be tough down the stretch because in March Madness, dude, like you're playing your heart out,
Yeah.
Like it's for a lot of guys, it's their last chance to
play organized basketball.
Yes, and to get noticed. So guys are just playing their hearts out. Like John Morant, yes, he had a successful regular season, but it was in March Madness that really got him that attention that potentially boosted him to a number 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So, man, if I'm somebody filling out my bracket, I would take that into consideration. A 7-man rotation, man, that's just not that's not something I want to put faith in if I'm trying to put out a successful bracket. But as for Kansas, tough loss, but I mean, they'll be back. If this game was at the Fog, they would have won it for sure, because that's just how it is at the Fog. Let's talk about seeding here. It looks like Baylor moves up to a 1 seed. They were a 2 seed last week, and now they are projected to be a 1 seed. They're in the back of the pack. They're number 4 out of the first 4 seeds. But, man, that is great for Baylor. Another year in a row of being a number 1 seed, I believe. So that's great to see. I'm very happy for them. As for Kansas, they stay at a number 1 seed. I mean, that's just where they've been. So good for them. It's a great opportunity for Baylor, and they took it. So good for them. But gosh, you got to watch out for their roster. That's going to be scary to watch as we head deeper into the month of March. So let's go ahead and cover some more of our games. This one's more, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this. It's just pitiful. Arizona at Colorado. I didn't get to watch this game, but I mean, just looking at the box score, man, this is pitiful on the Wildcats' part. I mean, they're having a historic season. They haven't made the Final Four since Richard Jefferson, if you've heard his name, ever since Richard Jefferson was on the team. So, man, it's been a rough, I mean, it was a rough week for them. I mean, they played pretty close games. They beat Utah by a good amount, but I mean, just a tough week all around. And this is not the type of energy you want to have going into your conference tournament in Las Vegas. Tommy, anything that sticks out to you with this matchup?
Yeah, more or less the same. I don't have too many thoughts other than Arizona should have won. They should have won this game. I don't know why they did not win, other than Colorado just won it more. So Arizona needs to be wary of that going into the tournament. And that's really all I have to say about that one. It's really, really crazy.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, Colorado was on their way out, and Arizona is still seated at number 1. At the number 1 seed, they're currently they were placed in the South Division. That might change now because they might have less of a, because the 1 seeds get to pick what region they want to play in. Mm-hmm. And I imagine Arizona is going to fall a little bit. Lenardi still has them at number 2, but come on, you got to put Baylor or Kansas ahead of them. They're just playing better basketball right now. As for Colorado, you just reignited your chances of making the tournament. They might be a last 4 team in. They just got to perform well in the tournament, but hey, your hope is there, and this is the game that you needed. So kudos to the Buffalo out of Colorado. All right, 2 more games, and we're going to start to wrap things up here. USC and Oregon. This is a game, Tommy, that you wanted to highlight. I'm going to give the floor to you. I didn't get to watch this game either. What stuck out to you in this game? It was a close one, 70-69 in favor of USC, number 16 USC, and they moved up in the rankings. Oh no, they actually stayed. They didn't move. But go ahead. What's your thoughts of this one?
Yeah, this is another one of those games that I watched as well. I took the time, to watch and really analyze. Both teams played great. I predicted USC to win, and I was very surprised that they only won by 1 point. A clutch 3, and then from there on it was pretty smooth sailing. Oregon had the lead for a decent portion of the game. It was really back and forth. Excuse me, not Oregon. USC. USC had a lead for pretty much the entire game. So that's always a clear sign, of the win probability. But you can't discredit Oregon because that's a very good basketball program. I'm just proud of USC. This is another one of those teams. I say St. Mary's is legit. I say Duke's legit. I say Baylor's legit. If I had to pick a top 4 for teams that people are kind of wary on that I think are legit, I think USC is my 4th spot. I think this is another legit team that's going to make a lot of damage in the tournament. So, keep an eye on USC coming up.
Yes. This was a big win for them on the road. They were projected to be a 6 seed last week, and as of now, I don't think they moved. Lenardi only released the first 20 seeds, and I don't see a lot of movement there for the Trojans. It doesn't look like they're even a 5 seed, so it looks like they're going to stay at 6. I mean, this is a good win for them. I think that's perfect for now. we'll see how they do in the Pac-12 tournament. If they make it to the championship game, in my eyes, you got to put them at least a 5 seed. And that's a pretty big achievement. The Pac-12 has been pretty strong this year. But as for Oregon, man, tough, man. You're almost there. You're almost there to get back into the mix. But now you got to hope that you can make a big enough impression in the Pac-12 tournament. So keep it going, Ducks. I know you can do it. Last game we're going to cover today, Texas Tech at TCU. For me, gosh, man, I really thought Texas Tech was going to be a team to watch this year. And they absolutely have been. And they were a hot team going into this weekend. And they kind of lost their heat a little bit. But, I mean, they lost not by much. And TCU is a great basketball team right now. And they're currently projected. They were projected last week as a 10 seed. And I imagine it's going to go up this week. Definitely not anything within the 6 seed. But, I mean, I bet you they'll be an 8 or a 9 seed now after winning against a hot team at home. And Texas Tech has been hot on the road. So, man, this is pretty impressive on the part of TCU. One guy that I want to highlight, Mike Miles, 26 points. A sophomore out of Highlands, Texas. He's a guard. Man, averaging 15 points a game. He played some inspired basketball, pretty much almost doubled his season average to beat the Red Raiders, the red hot Raiders. And, I mean, Texas Tech was winning this game mostly throughout the game, but in the last like 3 or 4 minutes, TCU really just cut the edge and just ended up winning it. And man, that's great for TCU. I think, in my eyes, TCU has sealed a spot in the tournament. So that's great for them. As for Texas Tech, you got to go try to win that Big 12 tournament to seal high seed, because this definitely hurts you a little bit. Not too much, but it does. They're currently slated at a 3 seed, and I think they were put at a 2 seed last week. That because of, man, they just had a great week all around. Looking at it now, and they were pretty much at the top of the 3 seed, but almost a 2 seed. But what did you think about this matchup, Tommy, as we begin to close?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tech's another team that I really like. I think Tech's going to do really well in the tournament. It's another one of those cases like with Arizona and Colorado where I just think, I don't have an explanation as to why Tech lost, more so why TCU won. It's because they were hungry. They wanted it more. TCU, a legit program in the making. I don't think they're there yet. I think they will be there very soon. But yeah, I think this has really kind of knocked Tech on their butt. And now they got to go, okay, guys, like, let's reset. Let's figure out what's going wrong, because we cannot have this energy going into the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of was overconfident looking at this. I mean, I was saying that Texas Tech was probably going to win out, and then they lose their first game after I said that. So sorry, Texas Tech, if I gave y'all bad luck. They got an easier schedule. Don't want to jinx them again. Kansas State at home, and then Oklahoma State on the road. So they look to be comfortable closing out the season as they head to Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament. But that about wraps it up for our weekend breakdown segment. To conclude our segment today, let's talk about our team of the weekend. I had a lot of teams that I was going to pick. I was thinking of picking UConn, but this is pretty much a team of the weekend, a team who really shined out to us during the weekend. So they don't really fully go into those characteristics of being a team of the weekend. They won against unranked Georgetown. So I think I got to give it to the Baylor Bears. I mean, gosh, going up 7 spots and then beating Kansas at home like they did with a 7-man rotation. Come on, you got to give the Baylor Bears recognition right now. Definitely be watching the rotation, but as of this weekend, I mean, in my eyes, they were the number 1 team this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Baylor, like, they once again, we were both saying, okay, Baylor, this is your chance, and they came ready and they proved us, they showed us that we're here to play. So I'm very proud of Baylor as well. I like that Baylor, and I agree with that. Myself, I would go. I think you guys, would assume that I would pick St. Mary's, and I would like to, but to kind of switch things up and to be genuine. I'm picking Tennessee. Like I said, I flippin' love Tennessee, you guys. Like Tennessee's defense is probably my favorite team defensively in college basketball. Just such a great program as far as their coaching goes. I like their players. Their players are very mature. I like the way they handle themselves on and off the court, as well as their drive. And this is another game I was like, okay, it's kind of a Baylor situation. Are you legit or are you not? Tennessee, I'm looking at you guys. I think I'm going to have you guys go pretty deep in the tournament. Can you beat this number 3 Auburn team or this Auburn team that was ranked 3rd? And they do. They beat them by 5. I'm very happy to watch this game as well. I was really proud of everyone. Obviously, for Tennessee, Santiago played a great game, 14 points, perfect from his free throws. But Tennessee, you guys, like, it was a very back and forth game. Tennessee is another team that I think they're going to go pretty far in the tournament if they keep it up with their defense and they keep it up with their drive. So that's going to be my team of the weekend. Like, I'm proud of Tennessee for real. On a real note, I'm really keeping an eye on Tennessee from now on because I think they only go up from here. I think they use this momentum to continue to play a strong game of basketball throughout the entire tournament, beating that Auburn team. So that would be my team for the week, Tennessee.
Awesome. Well, that about wraps things up for today. Be looking forward to our Thursday episode. We got a weekend very similar to this past one. You got Arkansas, Tennessee playing each other, Alabama, LSU, Kentucky going on the road to Florida, who just beat Auburn at home. Then you got Texas visiting the Jayhawks, and you got UConn trying to seal the Big East and trying to get hot against DePaul. And then USC, UCLA, an inner-city rivalry happening. So, guys, like, it's going to be a great weekend once again. And it's going to be our last weekend of the regular season. And then our Tuesday episode next week is mostly going to be covering conference championship tournaments. So, guys, it's heating up now. Like, the tournament doesn't technically start like when the first day of March, but like I can definitely feel it now. Like, it's here. Like, the madness is officially here. Happy March, y'all. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in.
See you later, guys.
This has been The Bracketologists, presented by Anchor. We'll see you guys next time.